so we're going to go ahead and start phase 2 of this little guy, and I've got my PanPastel colors out. We are going to be working with black, burnt sienna shade. This is yellow ochre, and permanent green extra dark. I've still got this guy taped on here. He's not quite done gluing. The glue is not quite dry yet, so we're going to kind of work around this. So just going to kind of work on the front of the hat to get started, and we'll kind of work around, come back to this side. I'm going to start out with the number 8. This is just a Craft Smart soft bristle brush, just a nylon brush. Anything like this will work. I get these from Michael's. It's just a soft bristle brush with a pointed tip, which is what we want. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up, I've also got just a soft cloth for wiping the brushes off when we're all done. We don't want to use any water on our brushes. Let me go ahead and tape this down just a little bit tighter here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go around the bottom part of the hat to get started. So we'll just start right here. Back up into this corner. And then we're just going to come all on the top of this brim of the hat here. And we're just going to work in a circular fashion here. Just create a shadow line in this brim area. I'm going to set this down a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to come out pretty far on this shadow line here. I want this bottom part to be just a bit darker, so I'm going to pull that color out quite a bit. Okay, so I've got a nice little dark shadow there. Might want to come back and add just a bit more powder. We're going to be putting some flowers and stuff in here, so we don't really need to spend a tremendous amount of time right here. I just really want to pull that dark shadow up a little bit more here. Okay. I can come up here and do the same thing up underneath this hat. I just want to create just a bit of a darker shadow here in some of these underneath darker areas. I don't really have to do too much here because our dry brushing is, we've got our dark shade underneath there, so that's pretty dark already. We're just kind of accentuating those shadows a bit. So we'll go ahead and do the same thing up underneath this part of the brim of the hat. Now what I usually do when I get to the pastels portion is we'll work top to bottom and then spray it and then front to back. So you do the front first and then come back and do the front, spray it, then come back and do the back. obviously not going to be able to come all the way over here. Let me just put another piece of tape on this guy because he's not wanting to stay where I have him. Okay, let me get my tape here. I need some piece on the bottom. Got a little bit of green on the top of his nose there, but clean my brush really quick and we'll get that off there. Can also just take a white gum eraser and just erase that pastel color right off there. Don't ever use water on your pastels. Okay, so let's see. Go ahead and flip them around here. Let's just continue our shadow up underneath the brim. Obviously we can't go all the way over there in that corner till this is done drying, but we can get most of it on here. Just be really careful not to get that green on his nose like I did. Sometimes it can leave a stain because they are really pigmented, so we'll just want to use caution here. I'm going to come in here and add just a little bit more. Now again, that's not such a critical part because we are going to be coming back and, well, let's see. We can just, I guess, probably get it in there really quickly. Just want to make sure we've got both spots there. Both of those corners, right down here and right up underneath that part of the flower. I've got my glue still wet right there, so I'm not going to get too close to that flower. But again, we're going to glue some stuff on here when we're all finished, so I'm going to worry about that too much. So we'll come over to the sign. Let's see. Let me go ahead and, because we're working, he is going to have a shadow up underneath this part of the hat where there's an overhang, so we'll go ahead and create that really quickly. We'll come down here and create that shadow. Okay, already kind of naturally gives it that shadow. You can come up a little bit farther up underneath here if you want. Create an even darker green. You know, you're going to have a pretty dark shadow up under here because there's not the lights coming from the top, so you can come out pretty far. Come up pretty far with that shadow. Same thing down here. We're going to have a shadow up underneath the hat on this side. So we can come out pretty far here. Just working in a circular, like back and forth pattern. Okay, over here on the underneath side of his hat. Also want to put a shadow up underneath the sign. So all the way up under there. Come out to here. Okay. So since I already have my green brush out and this piece is pretty large, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to have to put more glue on that. It's not sticking. I'm going to go ahead and put my shadows on my shoes as well. So we'll just start down here at the corner and work up. Same thing over here. Again, we're just doing the front because we'll spray this and then we'll go around and do the back side. And kind of pull that color up into the little dark shadow corner area. Can fill that corner out a little bit more. Okay, looks pretty good. I'm gonna wipe my brush off. Just on the soft cloth here, just work it back and forth and get all that color out of there. Okay, let me just take my eraser to this. Now these colors are live on here, which is the term for if they will move around. If you put your finger in it or touch the color, you can transfer it to another spot on the piece. So you really use caution if you're working. If you have, small area, you accidentally put your hand in it, come back in another spot, you'll end up with fingerprints and other things. So just be cautious of that. Let's go ahead and do around the nose. I'm going to use burnt sienna. We're going to have more shadow underneath because there's not much sunlight getting up underneath the nose here. Now this is our intersection area where two points meet, so we're going to have a little bit more color in that concentration of color in this underneath, in this corner area here. This guy is so tricky to get the whole thing in there. So come up underneath here on this side. I probably should have waited to glue all the attachments on until after I was done, but shading, but I really want the shading to be realistic to where things are. So if you shade it and then glue everything on, the color shades might not line up properly. So okay, so we've got a nice little dark shadow underneath there, under the nose. Blend that out really nicely. And we want to come back up on the top here and we'll just create a little shadow line around the edge. Pretty small. We just want some contrast. Now the green green and the burnt sienna will definitely mix together here, so that's why you want to be careful if you've got green on there. Okay, looks pretty good. Sorry about my dog. Go ahead and go around the fingers here. Okay. You can go ahead and go in between the creases a little bit. You can even do in the knuckle lines if you want. You know, you can do as much or as little as you want here, depending on how much dry brushing that you did. You may not need to really add any shades. I want to come up underneath the hand. Okay, looks pretty good. We'll do the other hand when we've got that other side untaped. I've got a little bit of a dark spot right there, but I can spray it and come back and do another pass of burnt sienna around the nose. Okay, so let's see. We really need to wait to do the beard, so we'll go ahead and do the sign. I'm going to use black for the wood sign. And let's see, do we want to use a smaller brush maybe? Let's see. I'm going to probably use a number 4 Winsor & Newton brush. Let me just set this guy down for a second. Let's see, we'll use the number 5. I've got a number 5 Winsor & Newton, but if you've got a number 4, that'll work fine too. You can actually use that same brush that we were using, but I don't want a giant shadow around my sign. I want it to just be pretty small, so I'm going to stick with a smaller brush here. We're just going to start and go just around the edge. But I don't want to go around my highlight edge, my highlight line there, so I'm going to not go all the way to the very edge. I want to leave that highlight line on the side of the wood there. And you can come out a little bit, you know, you can come out kind of far with that shadow. Doesn't have to be a really thin line. Let's see, let's just gonna do the same thing over here. Gonna go all the way to our highlight line. Okay, got a nice little dark line around that edge. the top. Now in my corners, I can pull that color down a little bit and get a little bit more of a shadow there. Remember, the colors on your hat are live, so try not to put your thumb in any colors if you've got anything over there that you can transfer to another area. Okay, go all the way over to this other side. Okay, I'm going to flip it around. The side from this angle. Now remember, don't go all the way to the edge. Okay, remember in our corners, we're going to have a little bit more color, so we'll pull that color out a little bit here. Okay, and then we'll go across the bottom as well. You can make that bottom a little bit darker if you want. Let's pull that corner in a little bit. Oh, dropping my paintbrush. May need to put a little bit more powder in those holes if you over dry brush like I did on the sign. Okay, got a nice dark shadow on the bottom. Looks good. Okay, and then also on the front of the wood panel, obviously under here, we're going to have a dark shadow, so we're going to come up underneath that pretty far here. But then we've got to come down the side of the post. Again, not covering up our highlight line that we dry brushed on there. We're just going to the edge. And you'll want to do that on each part of the panel. So we'll come up underneath here. this side. Okay, looks pretty good. You may want to come in and pull a little bit of black into some of your crevice lines here. Just for extra added effect, you know. It's totally not necessary, but okay. Oh no. Should just pop it off and start over. Because my tape's not sticking. I'm just having issues here, you guys. I'm just going to go ahead and pop this off, I think. Add him separate. Now I've got a lot of glue on the side, but that's okay. I'll re-glue him. So let's go ahead and do his beard since I've pulled that off of there. And we'll get that front done and then we'll do the flower separate. I'm going to shade his beard with the yellow ochre. Just going to come up here and start underneath the bridge of the nose and the hat. Now you want to make sure your brush is clean really well. You don't have any remaining green or any other colors in your brush. You can come down a little bit into some of those hair curvature lines. Pull that color out a little bit. Mainly we just want to push that color really far up in the crevice line up underneath the nose and the hat. We don't want any of that color showing through underneath there. Okay, we'll pull this color out just a little bit more here under the nose. Gonna come all the way up underneath the brim to the sign here. Okay, I want to make sure I get these dark corners, these deep corners really well. You can come out with that color a little bit more here. Okay, then I'm also just going to come over on the side of the beard here and do the side. You won't really see much of this because it'll be covered, but since it's not glued down, we'll just go ahead and do that really quick. Just make sure you work from the outside in. attachments already on there, so you may not be having this problem that I'm having, but I'm impatient. So I don't want to wait for that glue to dry. I want to just keep painting. Okay, want to be careful not to get the yellow into the green here. Okay, and then I'm also going to come up from the bottom and just pull some shadow along each one of the brim of these hair carve lines. I just want a nice ombre effect. Can be fast, don't have to spend a lot of time on this part. Okay, and then we'll come over here and go along the side of the hand. You can kind of pull that color into those carved lines on the side as well. Come down on this side, you can do the same thing, just go along with shadow. The shoe line here. Okay, that looks pretty good. Like that. Smooth this out a little bit more here. We don't want any harsh lines. We want it to be a nice, really smooth transition of color. Okay, that looks pretty good. So set that aside and let's just do this, our little flower, while you have this out, and then we can spray both pieces and I'll glue them back on. I'll glue this on. That'll have the front done anyway. Actually, let me go ahead and finish adding. Let's go back to the green here since I don't have anything on this corner here. I'll go ahead and go shadow around this bottom part. Okay, and then you also want to, like I said, go up underneath the sign here. Also gonna just go in the brim of the hat a little bit more on the top here because we need a shadow on the top as well. Can create a really nice dark shadow on the top and the bottom at the same time. Okay, I'll also come up here underneath my shadow here now that I don't have the flower attached, and I can create a really nice shadow underneath the hat. Go ahead and darken this shadow up a little bit here. Okay, again, over here on this side, we'll have a shadow up underneath over here. No sun's getting up underneath this side of the hat. Anywhere that we aren't getting sun, we can go ahead and add that shadow there. I think I'll go ahead and flip it around this side. We can take and add our shadow up underneath here. Can put the shadow on this side as well. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we'll go ahead and set this guy aside. Now, as far as your spray, you're going to want something like this UV resistant clear Krylon. This is a matte finish spray, or you can also just use a regular Krylon matte finishing spray, which is what I usually use. But if you're going to be putting it outside, you can use the UV resistant. You can also spray it with a triple clear gloss if you want at the very end, but not until you're finished completely with shading everything, because once you put the triple gloss glaze on there, you won't be able to come back and add any more pastel color. So we'll go ahead and add our shadow. We'll start on the green, since that's the color we're using on the brush here. Go ahead and come all the way out. Okay, and then we want to make sure we get up underneath the flower petal here. And this is why the shape of the brush is so important. We'd like to have that pointed tip so we can push that powder up into all those crevices and those deep spots, so we don't have any of that underneath color showing through. Okay, we'll come up underneath here. On this side. Can also do a little bit of a shadow right here if you want, because this is kind of a bend and a dark spot. Okay, and you're also going to come up underneath the hand. Okay, I'll go ahead and wipe my brush off. Let's just pick up, let's go ahead and do our burnt sienna shade first. And let's just come up in here and start adding this color around the center of the flower, but also coming into these spots here. You can do as much of this or as little of this color as you want. You know, if you like the way it looks right now, then you can just leave it, or you can accentuate it with this burnt sienna shade, which will just bring out the brown a little bit more. Pull that color out into those petals a little bit. You probably even could use just regular burnt sienna because it's more of a red, you know, it's more of a reddish orange tint, so it would just be brighter. It is kind of nice. It's much quicker to shade it this way because I don't have to turn the whole gnome upside down. I can just do this little tiny piece. It's so much easier to do without those attachments on there. But gluing them on, as you've seen, can be kind of a challenge. At least it is for me. But a lot of things are, so it's like, you know, which one of the ones is the easiest way to paint? That's what I would prefer. Is if I have a little bit of a struggle attaching it, I'd rather have the struggle there. Okay, we want to make sure we get all those little underneath ones. And maybe those are the ones that you can use the regular burnt sienna with. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I can go ahead, since I've got burnt sienna on this brush, I'll go ahead and take regular burnt sienna. We'll shade his hand really quick like we did the other. Remember, I'm just doing the front because I'll spray that and then do the back. I don't want to risk putting my hand in some live powder. So we're just going to go ahead and do this whole part where it attaches to the body. You won't really be able to, this will mostly be covered up. We just need a little bit of a shadow here. Okay, and then we can come in with and accentuate those finger lines. Okay, that looks pretty good. I might want to add a couple dark cracks in here. Okay, looks pretty good. Okay, all right, so we've got all those on there. Now I can go ahead and take my black. And I'm just going to go ahead and take the black and go right around the inside of the flower petal here. I want to make sure I get all of that yellow covered up. Any yellow I might have gotten on this part of the flower. Still using that same brush. You could switch to the smaller one if you need to at this point, but it's a pretty big space as long as you keep that color just designated right on the tip part of the brush. Won't push around too much. And you may want it to be, you know, a bit darker or the black to come out a little bit farther, and that's okay. You know, make it your own, do it how you prefer. So nice to be able to just not have that giant gnome have to turning it all around. Just working in these on these little pieces. Oh, it's so much nicer. I've painted this gnome several times and it's difficult to paint and get on video at the same time. Because it's such a large piece. It's like, I think it's 19 inches tall. Now, if you want to, you can add some of the black into some of the petals. You know, if you want to darken up some of those inside spots, like, you know, you could come out a little bit here. But I want mine to kind of be more of a reddish, so I'm going to kind of leave that, I think. Okay, that looks pretty good. I may even want to put some glitter paint or something on there, on the inside of that, but I'm not sure. So we'll go ahead and spray all these pieces, and then we'll do the same thing on the back side. On the back side of the body, you just have the yellow. So you'll take that same Dairy Light yellow and just go around. I don't want to pick this up, so I'm gonna. You'll just go around underneath the hat, on the side of the hand here, all up the side here and underneath the hat. And then we'll be adding probably some pockets on the back of that thing in the details portion, which will be coming next. So when you get ready to spray this piece, spray the stuff down, you're going to want to shake your spray really well, at least for probably 45 seconds to a minute. This says 2 minutes on the can, so if you haven't used it in a while, definitely shake it up well. You're going to want to use the sprayer and spray in short bursts. Read the instructions. It says to hold the can 10 to 12 inches from whatever you're spraying. You're going to want to do this outside, obviously, and I work in short, small bursts like this. Psh, 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 psh. Don't hold it down like this. Psh, because then you're going to blow the powder all over the place. So do it in short, small bursts and work from side to side to side to side. Okay, I'm going to go out and spray this and see you in the next video.